Is this thing on? Breaking news! Jennifer Holland has been cast as Lara in James Gunn's Superman movie. April Fools, how'd you going? I bet you were screaming and getting ready to type there. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X, on TikTok Mad Mickey's Wild, and on Snapchat BMouth60 Mick, your host with the most. A very warm welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DCU Daily. Yes, please be aware it's April Fool's Day, so you're going to be full of sites and journalists telling you lies for laughs. So basically, it's just like any other day on social media. The more leaks I get from these test screenings, the more concerned about this film I get. The other day I was quite positive. It sounded like this film's a kind of, this Superman film's a bit kind of Pulp Fiction-y, chapterized, episodic, kind of a big swing. But and I've been told lots of things about this film, but also last night, because I couldn't sleep, because I'm always thinking film and entertainment, I was reading a list of all the stuff that's supposedly in this film. Now, we know that every single thing that could be leaked from test screenings could be absolute BS, and it's important for us to understand that. I was watching a YouTuber, Chris Gore, who has got a lot of connections within the industry, talking about these test screening leaks. Now, one of the first things that made me laugh was that apparently someone in the back of the crowd, because apparently, according to Chris, there was a test screening last week, 60 people, well vetted, and there was a person in the back of the crowd after the film finished who said Fantastic Four are Fucked. Basically, Fantastic Four is screwed. Now, this is interesting. So, kind of the hint here is that Superman's so good that Fantastic Four is in trouble. Here's the problem with that assessment, Chris. That person at the back would have had to have gone to a Fantastic Four screening to be able to judge that scenario, and clearly that isn't the case. None of us know how good, bad, mid, or indifferent Fantastic Four is. Look, we're hearing so many different things about this test screening, and I warn you all. And when you're watching my videos and I'm telling you things from alleged test screenings, remember, take it with a pinch of salt. We don't know. Warner Brothers are a very desperate company. Warner Brothers Discovery and David Zaslav and James Gunn and Peter Safran, they're all very, very desperate people. We're hearing rumours that he's interviewing people now, Zaslav, to replace Adby and DeLuca. It's insane. He's now sold Acme versus Roadrunner, that Looney Tunes movie, to some studio called Ketchup, right? Yeah, we live in a parody world where a production company called Ketchup, or whatever it is, now owns a WB production. Just imagine WB paid for a budget for a film to be made, then they shelved it purposely so they could create a fuss and sell it to somebody else. This is how desperate the situation is. They now have a new investor at the studio because they are in trouble. They really need this Superman movie to be successful, and it's no joke. So here's a big spoiler warning. This is not April Fool's Eve, and I think it's difficult today because apparently today's the day that, we get the Superman CinemaCon panel. That, at CinemaCon they may show an exclusive main trailer, which we may get today, we may not. It's April Fool's. It's difficult to understand if what's going to be true and what's not. I'm keeping away from X Twitter for today. I always say that, and I always go back. I'm addicted. I love social media. It's fun. I love it, and I want to know what's going on for you guys and what we do here on YouTube and on Instagram. So, one thing that I've heard from test screenings is, and the Chris Gore video was very positive because I love Chris. I think Chris is a great guy. He has genuine connections within the industry. He cares about the industry. But I think that video was kind of, we don't really like Disney, and we're hoping that Superman does well and kicks the crap out of Disney, Marvel Disney's Fantastic Four. I think that's the kind of attitude from Chris's side of things, and I get it. I don't like Disney. I don't like the MCU and what's happened to it. The MCU was always an overrated franchise, but at least it had some quality movies. At least their hearts used to be in the right place. Anyway, away from Chris's video, I was reading all these spoilers, things that I haven't been told about the movie. The first assessment as I was reading was, I was thinking, this film has interesting themes, but it also seems to be done in a very simplistic way. And as I feared, this film seems to be a checklist of Superman's greatest hits. And that's an interesting thing as well. And I think that's what they're meaning by a very episodic movie. Oh, people love that, let's do that. People love that. People didn't like Cavill's Superman killing Zod. Let's switch it around and have Lois talk Superman out of killing the villain of the movie. Right, now I haven't been told this, but I've always kind of assumed that there's going to be a kind of love triangle between this Superman clone, this Ultraman clone, Lois Lane, and the real Superman. So look out for that in the movie. Nobody's told me about that. That's what I'm estimating. That's what my hunch. You know, my hunches, they're very, very good. So one thing that's been leaking out from this test screening is that Lex Luthor has found a pocket dimension. And in this pocket dimension, he imprisons people in it that he hates, including his ex-girlfriends. Now, to me, that sounds a little bit dumb, and it sounds like, toxic male kind of new Hollywood progressive kind of mindset. But anyway, now, according to Chris Gore, he's been told that Lex Luthor is ruthless in this movie. Nicholas Hoult is amazing, and he actually kills people in this movie. People are dead because of Lex Luthor, and he's basically really evil in this movie. We will see about that. So he has a pocket universe. Now, I believe the pocket universe thing because in the teaser trailer, we see that Superman and others are actually trapped in glass prisons. This is clearly the pocket universe, or could be the pocket universe. You know that bit when Superman smashes the glass? So what happens is, apparently, according to these leaks, that Krypto is taken to this pocket universe. He's injured. Superman finds himself imprisoned in this pocket universe as well. Now, at the Daily Planet, Lois is kind of having a go at Clark Kent. How does he always get these interviews with Superman? But when they get back to either Lois or Clark's apartment, it becomes very apparent that it seems like they're living together, and the whole thing at the Daily Planet is just a disguise, because not only does Lois know that he's Superman, they're actually dating. But then they go from joking to getting into a heated debate about Superman's interference in international global issues. And Lois doesn't seem to be very happy that as Superman, is getting involved in these issues. And, then there's this other thing that leaks out from the test screening, that Lex Luthor breaks into the Fortress of Solitude and corrupts the artificial intelligence that is Jor-El. He corrupts those messages to make them say something else. He beams them to the world to see, and then the world turns on Superman because they think Superman is an alien who wants to invade Earth, whatever it is, right? So basically, that's what Lex does when he breaks in to the fortress. So I'm fine with that. That's interesting. The world turns on Superman. Lex Luthor is also in league with a very corrupt small country, and that's probably in line with the kind of international issues that Superman's getting involved with. It's probably the war in the small country that Superman's getting involved with. So there's that. Again, I have nothing wrong with any of that. But here's the thing about Lex Luthor breaking into the fortress, been done so many times in other adaptations, and manipulating the world against Superman. That was done far better from what this has been described as in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, because when Lex manipulates the world against Superman, there's depth to it. You get the journalists talking against Superman, some defending him, some hating on him, and it's done in a very, very deep very believable way. And this just sounds very quick, very easy, and very simple. So there is that. Because Superman is being ostracized by the world, Superman, this is another leak, by the way. Don't know if any of this is true. So apparently he goes off to Smallville, to the Kent farm, to be both with Martha and Jonathan. So there is a Martha in this movie, but we still don't know who's playing her. I think he should have gone to Annette O'Toole, because Jonathan looks a little bit fragile and elderly in this movie. Annette O'Toole is very, very kind of, older than she was on the Smallville show. And I think that would work. She's even got grey hair now. She hasn't got that beautiful red hair she used to have. So I think that could work. But I don't know if he's going to pick someone well known to play Martha Kent. So Clark goes off to Smallville to recharge his batteries and see what he's going to do about this. So there's some interesting facets. Now, what happens at the end of the movie? It's obvious that the clone, Ultraman, who's not really Ultraman, is the villain of this movie. They fight. They fight, they have a fight, blah, blah, blah. I assume that's the villain that Lois talks him out of killing. Now, apparently at the end of the movie, Clark goes to the Fortress of Solitude and asks asks to see his Kryptonian family. So instead of the fortress showing his Kryptonian family, it shows his human family. I'm assuming his meta-human family, and I think that's kind of a nice thing. It's the family vibe, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But as I say, there's one more thing, right? Because you know that everyone's angry with Superman for getting involved with foreign affairs that cause a problem in Metropolis and cause injury and cause an incident. Well, what happens is, near the end of the movie, people start changing their minds about Superman because he starts saving people and he starts fighting a foreign army. Now, this is utterly problematic. Is James Gunn saying by this that Superman should be first, America first, and, helping foreign countries afterwards, or not at all? So this could be a very problematic situation, but something that right-wing America would absolutely get behind. So there are some interesting leaks here. I don't know if any of them are true. It's absolutely important that everyone understands we don't know if these are true or false. But there's some very interesting things here. There's some very interesting concepts. Oh, by the way, when Superman's being held in the pocket universe, apparently Lex Luthor's girlfriend has been sending him nudes, I think, and that's how they find out where Superman is. I don't know if it's true or not, and basically Jimmy Olsen seems to be sexting with someone connected to Lex Luthor. I don't know, Miss Tesma, I don't know. I don't get it. It sounds all very weird. So those kind of things I find a little bit problematic, and I feel the general audience at large will find rather problematic. So right now, it's a mixed bag. But here's the thing, without me seeing the actual film, without you seeing the actual film, it's very difficult to make a judgment. But when you hear me describing them like that, it's like, this film sounds a bit strange. Well, James Gunn is a strange filmmaker. I hope it's a big swing. I hope it's different. I hope the story makes sense. But it's interesting, isn't it? But do look out for this love triangle between Ultraman, this clone Superman, the real Superman, and Lois Lane, because I think that's where Gunn is going with that. It's very, very interesting. I think while Superman's being held in the pocket universe, the clone, which I think, because he has Superman's DNA, he's the reason they're able to break in to the Fortress of Solitude. So, there's some interesting facets here that could make a really good film, but we simply don't know. But according to the test screening they did with 60 people last week, which they vetted, and the one that Chris Goll was talking about, people really liked this movie. So that's interesting. And this test screening was 1 hour and 55 minutes long. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be 1 hour and 55 minutes long. They don't show you the full movie. So what do you think? I may be back later, and if it's too dark to do a trailer reaction, if we do get the trailer today, I'll have to do it for tomorrow's DCU Daily. But it is very exciting times. I don't know if this film's going to be good or bad. We're just going to have to be patient.